Hello everyone, this is episode 34 of Sketch Watch Play, and did you know Dodongo dislikes smoke? I am John Fleury.
I'm Bianca.
And we are a monthly podcast talking games, cartoons, TV, movies, and all sorts of geeky pop culture. You can follow us at SketchWatchPlay on Twitter or Facebook.com/SketchWatchPlay. If you want to listen to episodes, we're on iTunes, Google Play, YouTube, Spotify, most directories under the sun. And with this episode, we're back to the rotating co-host style. No Chris again for a while. But we're also, I'm crossing a goal off the podcast bucket list because Bianca is the last remaining co-host of Generation Animation to guest star on the show. It's been a long time coming. And I place a lot of blame there myself, actually, because I think I've reached out to you for something like a year, but every time we've come close, I've had to say, wait.
Yeah.
And I think we were hoping to do this a lot sooner, but then Chris was really interested and offered to have me over, but we were like, hey, let's wait. If we're going to talk Kingdom Hearts, let's wait a few more weeks until 3 is actually out. And even before that, we had picked our main topic. You had picked our main topic for this episode, so this episode's been a long time coming behind the scenes, at least. But Bianca, tell us a little about, yourself and Generation Animation for those who haven't listened to the previous co-host guest appearances.
All right, so I was actually approached by Felipe for Generation Animation. We did a test episode, and he's like, oh, yeah, you're going to be one of the hosts. And I was very, very shocked. I was like, oh, okay. So, I mean, that's good. I haven't really podcasted before. But, yeah, Generation Animation is just a general animation talk podcast. So, we talk about anime, we talk about quote-unquote Western animation. It's just anything animated.
Yep.
We talk.
Sometimes an individual movie, sometimes a TV show, sometimes like a topic or a franchise. A lot of fun ideas. And if you've been listening to us for a while and you like our cartoon talk, but you have yet to listen to these guys, highly recommend them. If you've listened to episodes with either Felipe, Tyler, Dave, or Mark, that's how I know them. And we'll call back to Mark. Our first topic is actually something we discussed briefly a little over a year ago when the first teaser came out. And Bianca, I understand you're pretty active on Instagram, from what I can tell.
I'm more active on Twitter. I've been working like crazy, so it's like nobody wants to see me in the same place 5,000. Well,
you have had a lot going on the past couple of years, from what I understand.
Yeah. Because I got married and then I moved to Florida.
Exactly, marriage and a move. That's a lot to I was going to say deal with, but that makes it sound like a bad thing. I would say it's a lot. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
So we have 2 main topics to get into. Also, just a heads up, I'm going to edit this as best I can. If the volume balance sounds off in the final episode, my apologies. Because Bianca, you actually are recording this. You're coming home from a visit to Epcot.
Yes. So since moving to Florida, so I originally moved to Lake Worth and then I moved to Orlando because my husband found a better paying job. So we were planning just to go to Magic Kingdom, Disney World, Magic Kingdom for one day. And then, so basically the price of 2 tickets for a day is the down payment for a season pass. So we have an annual pass. So we have annual passes to Disney. We just did like the Florida, which is, you can go Monday through Friday and that's it. So like every Monday I'm at Disney World and it's still mind blowing because you can just walk in, don't have to pay a thing.
Yeah, or like get a hotel there or anything.
Oh no, it's mind blowing. Like my husband, he's the numbers guy. Like with the annual pass, we've saved like thousands of dollars.
Wow,
it's like almost every Monday. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, props to Bianca's husband for figuring that out. And I gotta say, I'm jealous because I haven't visited Disney World since like 2003. Maybe someday. I'm on the East Coast. We could technically even not just drive, but I'm poor.
Yeah.
I will say, I don't think I've talked about it much. Real quick, I have still been tinkering away on the Wario reanimated collab. I don't know if you saw it, Bianca. I did talk about it in the last podcast. But I'm spearheading an effort to do one of those reanimated collabs. Like there's been with Sailor Moon, Dragon Ball, Mama Luigi, a bunch of stuff for the WarioWare Gold cutscenes. We recently hit 500 followers and have had over 50 artists sign on, so which is very exciting. But yeah, there are 2 things we want to get into, and one is that one of the show's specialty, which is kind of a general talk about a very iconic series. But when I asked Bianca, I told her we'd like to start with more recent talk about movies or games or shows that we've watched or played. She had a really cool pick and one that tied back into something that Mark and I discussed. So I just yesterday went and saw Alita Battle Angel.
I don't know what I am.
I do. You're the most advanced weapon ever.
And I'm guessing you've seen it as well, Bianca.
Yeah, so I originally wanted to see it on Valentine's Day. I was trying to make that my date with my husband. But I had to work till 7, and I was like, I'm not gonna.
Yeah. So before we get into the movie itself, I do want to ask, what is your familiarity with the Alita property beforehand? Because it stars a manga, and there was an OVA anime too.
So I heard about it first, like when the first inklings of like, oh damn. Sorry about that.
Perfect timing.
Perfect timing. When everyone was talking about like, oh, James Cameron's gonna do an Battle Angel Alita thing, and I was like, okay, it's an older anime, but I never really got into it. And then I signed up. So I was browsing Comixology, and I saw that for Comixology Unlimited, they actually had the Battle Angel Alita manga up.
Like the whole series?
The whole series is up on Unlimited, so I signed up for a free trial.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, well, I'm going to want to read it. So then I actually read it, and more recently, so here in Orlando, there's like a local anime club. So we went to their anime night, and I finally saw the OVA, and ooh, it's not good. It's bad.
Mark said the movie wasn't that good, but apparently the manga is where it's at.
Oh, yeah, no, I think Alita Battle Angel is a good start. It's a good summary, good adaptation. But if you really want to get into it, you really should just read the manga.
Yeah, because from what I could tell, I actually remember watching a tiny bit of the OVA, and it basically ends at the same point as this movie.
Yes.
But I think I might have some opinions to you, because I still have not read or watched any prior versions of it, but I was curious, and I was thinking, regardless of how I end up feeling about this movie as a whole, if there are elements of it that intrigue me, then I will probably check out that original stuff. And I will say, for the first half hour, I wasn't feeling this movie. It was throwing I felt like a lot of either plot elements or dialogue were being very cliche or expository. Part of it I can't place the fault on the source media because it's like 30 years old, but I think we've seen a lot of sci-fi stuff now where it's like floating stations are the rich and elite, and then the bottom is like the junk civilization. Like that was basically like stuff like Elysium. But outside of that, I was just seeing like the scene where she first meets Hugo, the romantic interest, and there's like a big tough robot, and him being like, wow, I've never seen anybody stand up to an enforcer before, or whatever that was. I'm like, how many times have we seen that kind of you're the hero set up? But once they started establishing, I have it written down here, the idea of hunter warriors and what that adds to the plot, the movie won me back and kind of stayed that way. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, the first half is a little rough. I think it's, like you said, it's like a 30-plus-year-old manga, and they obviously don't have the time to really introduce everything.
But they try. They cram a lot in there.
They tried. Yeah, and there's just like I said, it's one of the better adaptations because they actually took a lot of inspiration from the OVA, which was very surprising. So his wife in the movie is actually not in the manga.
Oh, she's exclusive to the OVA?
No, so in the OVA, it's his partner. So they changed it. Well, in the OVA, they added his old partner from Zalam, and in the movie, they're like, okay, it's just his wife. And I was like, I don't know. I still don't know how I feel about that, because like in the manga, he's like, yeah, he's just a dude that got exiled.
Yeah, the connection they set up between them didn't really come to anything, even with the horrific thing that ends up happening to her character. But I did want to say, Mark was also, because I know this is another case of, to some degree, whitewashing again with the anime.
See, I wouldn't consider it whitewashing because she's a literal robot.
Oh, I meant with like other characters, like Ito, Christoph Waltz characters, and maybe his wife, probably Hugo as well. But I can't say that for sure.
See, because there's really no. I mean, outside of like skin color and their names, there's really not a lot of like ethnicity. I guess.
Yeah. Mark was touching on this when we were talking about the teaser. He was saying the manga kind of does make them ethnically ambiguous, and part of that is because the author loves Western media in addition to Eastern. And he was saying that Christoph Waltz physically was a good match for Ito.
Oh no, they did phenomenal casting. Like that's the thing. You can assume. Like I think a lot of people just assume Ito is Japanese just because
the name.
But if you look at him in the manga, it's just like...
he looks like Egon from the Ghostbusters cartoon. Not very Japanese.
Yeah.
But, yeah, the movie itself does a better job of also justifying it. Not like, you know, if you want a bad case of justifying it, look at the Ghost in the Shell movie, where it's like, oh no, Japanese brain and a ScarJo body. I'm like, no, you're calling attention to it. But the opening, among all the exposition, they kind of make it clear, like... After there was a war that brought down most floating civilizations, this kind of became the melting pot for everything. So it's a little more, you know, it feels a little more natural to see all these different races walking around. And apparently the main villain of this movie, Vector, was black in the manga as well.
Yeah, no, he's black. Like, that's obvious in the manga that he's black.
Oh, obvious in the Japan doesn't get black people kind of way?
No, like, he's not, like, a caricature, but...
Okay,
like,
just skin tone stuff.
Yeah, it's like, okay, that's black guy. But very great casting with Mashallah Ali. Like,
yeah. Now the star of the most controversial Best Picture in recent history.
See, but that's, like, in the manga, like... Oh, so his name is Yugo in the manga.
Okay.
But he's like 13. Like, he's supposed to be young.
Oh.
But I get that they had to age him up, like, to not make it...
To not make the romance creepy.
Yeah. Because it's, like, when we saw the OVA, like, they obviously kept him as, like, a kid. So it's just like, okay, yeah. So I don't mind aging up. I mean...
Does Alita, is she still supposed to come off, like, late 20s, early 30s in the manga, like in this movie? Or did they age her up, too?
Like, that's the thing, is that she's just a... See, I don't know. So
she's a robot?
Like, robot. Like, that's her thing, is that she's a literal robot.
Right.
So, I feel like in the manga, like, she was a teenager, like, late teenager, early 20s.
Okay, so still probably a little old for Hugo.
Yeah, a little older. But I really do like how in the beginning they portrayed her as, I hate using the term childish.
But she was learning.
Because she was like, oh my God, I'm alive again. And so I can see how that can be really off-putting to some people. But it's like, okay, like the acting is a little rough, I will admit. But it's like, okay, she's a robot girl. It's like I said, she's a literal robot that just woke up after being assumingly wiped.
Yeah.
So she's gonna act a little funny.
Yeah, and it's not like she stays that way for most of the movie. She starts maturing pretty quickly. And I'll give props. I thought her actress was pretty good. Hadn't heard of her, but she's kind of new. She was also in like Bird Box apparently. And
then like the Divergent series, which is like knockoff Hunger Games.
Right. Oh, my mom would be able to tell me which one. She loves every movie like that. I got her the Hunger Games box set one Christmas and then every Divergent movie the next, even though I told her you want to finish the story, you got to read the books. So I'll give props to that actress Rosa Salazar. And two things. One, the eye effect, they actually pulled it off very well, I thought. Because that's what everybody was fixated on. But like for those who don't know much about the technical side of animation, especially CG, it is very, very, very hard to get lifelike eyes that look right. They are often the biggest culprit in the whole uncanny valley, phenomenon. And apparently that was that's one of the reasons the movie took so long. Wasn't just that James Cameron was busy; it was that Mark was telling me, he wanted CG to reach a point where he could look at Alita's eyes and not feel creeped out. Because he's like, this is the main character. You have to not look at her. You have to be able to look at her and not feel grossed out.
But see, that's the thing is, if you look at her, so when I first saw her character, and people are like, "Oh my God, she doesn't look human." It's like, well, no fucking shit, she doesn't look human.
Yeah.
He's a fucking robot. So
Though I did want to say, the movie didn't give, unless I missed it, it didn't give an in-universe reason for the eyes, because other robots weren't like that. When we got flashbacks to her squadron, they all had that, but they still weren't saying what was the purpose of the eyes for, I assume, battling.
Well, okay, so, the thing is, in the original Alita run, there's only bits and pieces that are flashed of her past life.
Okay, same with the movie, then.
Yeah, so the thing is, the manga ended, and I absolutely hate how the manga ended, so
It's still going, though. They made some sequel series.
So, yeah, see, here's the thing. So, it ended, like I said, I hate the ending.
Okay, don't spoil it for me, though. Or listeners.
So, this is the thing, is that in Japan, it's not called Battle Angel Alita. It's called Gunman. I'm probably butchering.
Yeah, it looks like it would sound very similar to Gundam.
Yeah, so then, I guess a lot of people were also upset at the ending, so he made a second,
series.
Continuation, but not canon-ish. It's really weird. So it's called Battle Angel Alita Last Order. I have yet to read that. And so now he did Last Chronicle, which is basically her past on Mars.
Okay.
He's just finishing up this story.
Man, he's been at it for a while. I'm sure he's done other stuff, though. Let me see if there's anything. And yeah, I'll give her actress credit. And okay, you know what? No mincing words. She was cute. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, no, she has a very cute design.
I can get over the eyes and the robot arms. She's endearing. Don't blame Hugo.
She did her first body, that intricate, carving to the hands. Mm-hmm. I think that was one of my favorite aspects of it.
Yeah. And I liked, how she moved inhumanly quick when she fought. That was something I mentioned to Mark about the teaser. It's not just that she has superhuman strength, but nobody can move that fast. It's really it helps kind of give the action scenes a little more unique flair. The action in general was very good.
Well, so I actually watched a thing on YouTube from 20th Century Fox. So they basically it wasn't mocap, was it? So they basically mocapped everything.
Alita was definitely mocapped. Some of the androids they probably did a mix of. It probably depended on that big muscular main villain android that was probably not mocapped outside the face, but others the Ed Screen kind of asshole one with the sword that was probably mocapped.
Yeah, so they showed a little snippet of a guy doing her martial arts in the mocap suit. So that's why it looks so
good.
When she punches, that's somebody actually punching and so I'm when this comes out on Blu-ray, I really hope there's a making of, because I really want to see more of how they did this, because in that little short they show that they also mapped her face out. And so she's in this rig where there's two high definition cameras on her, focused on her face.
Yeah.
So that's why her looks so lifelike too, is because they're capturing every single emotion
nuance
of the face. It's amazing.
Yeah, I was very impressed on this movie from a technical level. With all these crazy CG backdrops and all these crazy robot designs, I kept waiting for a part that looked crappy, and I didn't get it. They were very well blended, very intricate. Hats off to whichever studio was the main one behind the effects. And I'll give credit to Cameron and Robert Rodriguez as well, because I'm sure they had some input, especially Cameron, because he wanted to make it for a long time. And then finally when I'm making these Avatar sequels now, hey, anybody else? Was there anything you wanted to bring up? Because I'm bringing up my list of other stuff for it right now.
Like I said, this is one of, when I first heard that it was going to be Robert Rodriguez, I'm like, okay, I don't have to worry. You don't have to worry. Robert Rodriguez is a very great director.
Mark was bringing up people who were worried because of Spy Kids and stuff. He was like, no, his kids' movies are bad. When he does adult stuff, it's almost always good.
Well, he did Spy Kids because he wanted movies his kids to watch.
Yeah, and a bunch of other stuff that Shark Boy and Little Girl and stuff. But adult-wise, he's
like, oh no, we're good. It's gonna be fine. And we went and saw it. And like I said, there's some things I didn't like.
Yeah.
But I was like, it's Robert Rodriguez. We're fine. And so I was telling my husband, I'm like, we must petition Hollywood that if they're going to make an anime adaptation, it only goes to Robert Rodriguez.
And that's going to be the only kind of movie he makes from now on. And then he's going to can't make anything else. No, you're the anime guy.
The anime guy.
I would petition for Del Toro too, because Pacific Rim was a love letter to that kind of stuff.
Oh yes.
Mark was actually telling me, I think he may have been the one who introduced Cameron to the comic.
Oh, of course it was.
And I will say, because I had heard going in, one of the complaints was there's way too much left open for a sequel, and there were 2 points where I thought it was going to end, and the first one, if it had been there, I would have been livid, which is right after she gets the new body, and they start kissing, and I was like, no, don't roll the credits here, no, god damn it, no.
No, they were not. No, so like if you didn't know Hugo was gonna die, you would have thought that. But like I knew he will. I'm like, yeah, he's. I'm like, just wait. I'm like, okay, I'm just in this theater, like waiting for like this moment
on the cable.
Like, yeah. So knowing that he was gonna die, I was like, yeah, they're not ending this here yet. So that's the thing is like, so in the manga, they don't introduce Motorball until after Hugo died.
Real quick, I listened to the review from Double Toasted, one of my favorite movie podcasts, and one of the 2 critics there had read it, and he said the same thing, where he was like, as cool, and that's also a great scene, the fight/race game there, but he was like, you should have saved that.
Yeah. But this is my thing. So, like, they obviously had this limited time span. So I liked that it was Hugo that introduced her to Motorball, because now in this movie world, there's more weight to it.
Okay. Oh, is he already gone when she learns of it?
Oh yeah. So basically, in the manga, he dies. So then she's upset, like, that he's dead. So she gets rid of her berserker body. It's stored away. She doesn't know where it is. And then she gets the rollerball body. And so now she just straight up does rollerball. So in the manga, Ito is like, Ito's like, Alita, I really need you to come back home and knock this shit off, because this is a dangerous sport and I understand you're upset, but you need to stop. So throughout that like second arc of the manga, Ito's just trying to get Alita back, because he still sees her as
like a daughter.
Yeah, like a daughter, and it's just like, you really need to stop. So that's a whole other arc. Like, they didn't introduce like the champion, or like, so there's just a lot of stuff they left out. But like I said, I do like that, like, Hugo's like, oh yeah, this is Motorball, like, why don't you come play with us? And she's like, okay, like, I quote unquote love you, so now I'm gonna do this Motorball thing because like I can kick everyone's ass, so I'll be indomitable.
And
so
we get to Zalem.
Yeah. And so I like that part. Like, so that was great. And like I said,
also real quick, that line about "I'd give you my heart," when I saw the trailer, I cringed. When I saw the actual scene in the movie, I thought it was very emotional.
Yeah, no, it was, because I feel like it's. I hate using the word childish, but it's just like it's
pure-hearted.
It's pure-hearted because, like I said, she's just this robot. That robot. I'm just gonna go with android. She's an android that, like, she's experiencing this now for the first time. In cyborg. Okay, she's a cyborg. So, and she's feeling this like super intense emotion that she's never felt before. So how is she? How are you going to react to something that you've never felt?
It's also an important scene for Hugo, because it's the trigger that caused him to start moving away from the criminal life.
Yes.
Like, so I was wondering how they were going to address that, and I was like, that was a smart way to start, swaying it.
So the thing is, like, so it's a lot more gruesome in the manga. So basically, the manga, he's stealing robot spines.
Oh, not just like their limbs, but oof.
Just their body parts, because like the spines are the most valuable part.
Oh.
So he straight up jacking spines.
And does that kill them?
Yeah, it's highly legal. Yeah, everything is going up to Zalem because of Dusty Nova, who's an asshole.
And Edward Norton.
And I was like, oh, it's that guy. I couldn't remember his name, but no, that's a very, also, like I said, very good casting. I don't know if they're gonna make a second
Well,
one.
I think let's talk about the finale. So is Nova like the main villain of the manga? He's a villain.
He's a villain. There is so much that happened.
Okay.
So
it's like Vector's the villain of this first arc, then I guess there's Nova, and then I guess there's more after that.
There is so much more, and like I said, I don't want to spoil it for anybody.
Right, but you're definitely recommending the manga other than not liking the ending.
Yes. Like really, I was so pissed. But yeah, it's just there's just so much. Like, so they did Omnibus. There's 9 volumes of Omnibus. Yeah, that's how massive and lengthy this story is. And even Last Order is giant. Like, this is a very fleshed out world. So I would like to see if there's a sequel. I don't know if there is. If there is, I'm definitely going to go see it. But I'm very interested in how they will continue this.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's so much that happened.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me if they do more rearranging of stuff, since you talked about the Motorball stuff. I think I read that Cameron had some ideas of how to format it into a trilogy, and they apparently Rodriguez was saying like they wanted to leave stuff open, but still have enough happen that it felt, you know, like the story we'd read was generally closed up, which I'd say was.
No, you're on a very, very good point. Like, she's not the rollerball champion, and she's like that ending shot of her pointing at Zalam, she's
and cutting to Nova.
Yeah, I'm gonna take this shit down.
Yeah, I just hope we do get to. So yeah, talking about the probability of sequel, I would have originally said not a chance in hell because this is not doing well in the States. I'm not. I think it's. I know some people are saying that stuff coming out like How to Train Your Dragon 3 just came out, and that's going to cut a lot of attention away from it. But also, don't forget, as anime adaptations go, this is both one of the most obscure and the most expensive. It does not have a name recognition in the general public like stuff like Dragon Ball or Speed Racer does. I think it costs like $200 million, which explains how amazing it looked. So here's the thing. It is doing gangbusters in the East, particularly China, which has become, I don't know if you've heard this, has become a very important film market. I've heard about stuff like Transformers and stuff. The reason we keep getting sequels because those movies do really well. So it's very possible that it's already reached 200 million if we're taking worldwide into account. And so if it keeps going strong, that could be enough to justify something, which I'm very open to seeing more of this. It was, I think we've talked about some of our issues. It's no masterpiece. It's nothing I'm going to be saying, you got to see this, people. But for as apprehensive as I was going in and during the first, act, by the end, I was having way more fun. I was, I still was never as emotionally invested as I think they wanted me to be, but I was like, this is paced well. This is shot very well. It's acted well. And even stuff like moments where I thought, like, oh, what are you doing? Like when Alita goes into the bar and gives like a hammy speech about teamwork, I was like, they'd better just laugh that off. And then they do. And I was like, oh, good. Self-aware.
That's in the manga too, which I'm very glad they kept.
Okay, because that's like a very anime kind of speech.
Oh yeah, no, it's super anime. But like I said, it's just like, so by that, I read the manga last year, so and I can't speak too much because, like I said, I'm in the car with my husband. He's solely reading the manga.
Oh yeah, again, spoiler free, please.
Yeah. So, but no, like, so that scene's in there, and it's just great because she kicks everyone's ass in the bar. Yeah, another great action scene, and I liked a lot of the designs for those guys you see briefly, and especially the payoff for the one with the dogs. Oh yes.
I'm totally on his side. If you hate or kill dogs, you get no mercy. Mm-hmm. But any closing thoughts you have to say about Alita before we move on?
It's a decent movie. Like I said, it's an anime adaptation. It's no Speed Racer. I will always, Speed Racer is the best anime adaptation there is. Don't at me. So
don't argue.
Don't argue. But if you are interested in it, go see it.
Yeah.
Like it. And if you want to see more, just read the manga. But if you are interested in seeing very edgy 90s brutal anime, go watch the OVA, even though it's not
But don't
good.
watch the OVA so much for a good, genuinely good piece of anime.
No, it's just so 90s, like it's just so fast paced, like everything just happens with no like development.
Oh, it sounds like a case of, like, even more so in the movie, they had to just cram a lot in and skip getting you, engaged with it. That was a thing very commonly back in the 80s and 90s, where there were a lot of OVA adaptations of manga, but it was just like the first arc or volume or something meant to get you to read the manga. Which is so frustrating. I know me and we both enjoyed Devilman Crybaby, and there is, and me and Chris talked about it briefly, there is an 80s OVA like trilogy of the original Devilman, which is cool, but they don't tell the whole story. And
I did the bad decision. I was like, it's like 8 episodes, so like I'm gonna finish Devilman Crybaby in like a sitting. I finished it. I was like, I feel like shit.
It's a brutal. I think it's like the most haunting anime I ever walked away from. Like,
I watched the last 2 episodes back to back.
Oh my god!
I was in a funk for like 3 days.
Yeah, I had nightmares. And I,
oh my god,
goddamn loved that show, and that's attesting to just how impactful. I feel like that's one that truly qualifies as like horror anime beyond just supernatural action and stuff. I still definitely intend to give that its own episode someday, but we both recommend it. And yeah, I'll just say closing thoughts about Alita. I have yet to see Speed Racer actually, but I will admit, from what I'm aware of outside of that one, this does seem to be the generally best received, big budget Hollywood anime movie so far. And I think that it could be a step in the right direction. Because I'm sure we're going to get more. I would like a sequel to this, but I'm talking like we're going to get more adaptations, whether we like them or not. And I get the sense that both Cameron and Rodriguez did put some genuine effort into this and have a lot of respect for the source material, and I think that can make a big difference. Along with the fact that they're pretty notable names, which probably meant less studio interference. And yeah,
I saw this thing.
What?
I saw this thing on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, the original creator of Alita was like, "This is the best movie ever."
Oh, he enjoyed it.
Yeah, he enjoyed it a
That's
lot,
great.
which is phenomenal. So I think it's gonna be like when you have the original creator saying like this adaptation is amazing, it's gonna be fine.
Yeah, because I know Akira Toriyama was very polite about Dragon Ball Evolution. Like, well, that's its own thing. Yeah. Funny little side note. You know who Shigeru Miyamoto is, right?
Oh, of course.
I read a great book called Console Wars about the whole Genesis Super NES, war. And there's a part that's apparently about when somebody privately screened him the live-action Mario movie.
Oh, no.
He didn't get livid. Apparently he was like, they were looking at him, he was like cocking his head, looking curious. And so when it was done, he was less furious and more like, well, yeah, it's not the thing we created, but it's a neat experiment. And I guess he just didn't think much about it either way. It's just funny how different this can be. But Mark was telling me, I'm just going to close up with Mark because he was the first to, bring this up on the show. Apparently, the creator of Alita, but he loves Western and American film. And he remember in the 90s, he was saying if he wanted somebody to do it, it would be Paul Verhoeven. I'm guessing he looked at stuff like RoboCop. Not so much stuff like Showgirls. Showgirls was great. Get that guy for Alita. But yeah, I'm glad that I think that does say a lot about trying to respect the material while making enough modifications for a live-action Hollywood movie. And I'll close it by saying I did pull up, because Mark had a lot of enthusiasm and optimism about the movie when we talked about the teaser. I pulled up his tweet right now on his final thoughts. You can follow Mark at Dankin Effect, by the way. Recommend you do. He's a fun guy. Here are Mark's thoughts. I enjoyed Alita, and most fans of the source material will. It gets the tone of the OVA, but the best way to get into the series is still the manga. It still is the best animated live-action film I've ever seen. Still recommend it. It's a 7 out of 10 for me, or an 8 on a good day. And I'd give it a 7 myself, which is higher than I would give most anime movies. Yeah. So, yeah, we both, to a degree, recommend Alita, and definitely we both recommend the manga, and ending it. Well, you recommend the manga ending aside, and so does Mark. I'm going to check out the manga, because I think there's enough good stuff here. And now I'd say we should talk about our main topic. And, you ready to dive into a pretty big series?
Link Here come to town, come to save the Princess Zelda. Got him took away, now the children don't play, but they will when Link saves the day. Hallelujah!
All right, so as per usual tradition, when we have guests, I typically let them send some suggestions for topics and go with whichever one I think I would be able to offer the best stuff for. And Bianca has honestly picked a really big and iconic topic. We've had video game retrospectives before, but this is cream of the crop in terms of some of the most iconic, long-running, and influential series. So let me just think things up by first asking, Bianca, when do you first recall getting introduced or into the Legend of Zelda series?
So I remember this, and this is going to be very, very specific.
Ooh.
So I remember being in 6th grade. So it's around 5th or 6th grade. I was with my best friend at the time, Amanda, and we were upstairs in her brother's room, and he knew I play video games. He's like, "Oh my gosh, I have to show you this game I've been playing." So he shows me A Link to the Past, and it's called, "This is The Legend of Zelda, it's A Link to the blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, wait, like, that's fun, it's cute." And then a few months later, he got an N64 for Christmas.
Oh, boy.
And then he shows me Ocarina of Time. My jaw dropped at how amazing this game was. So it wasn't until a few years later that my brother's father actually gave him his old. Sorry, there's a plane passing over.
It's okay. It's not coming through too bad.
Okay. So it wasn't until a few years later that I actually was able to get my hand on Ocarina of Time for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, my brother's father, he gave him his old N64, and Zelda was in there.
Nice.
And I'm like, I need to play this. Me and my brother have played so many Zelda games together. It's ridiculous.
Oh, it's like a bonding experience.
Yeah. So that was my first foray.
Ooh, that story took a lot out of you.
Yeah, I had to walk up 3 flights of stairs. So I have just phenomenal. Hold on, let me just find my headphones.
Oh, you found your headset?
But no, I just have such a great love and history of
the Zelda series.
Yes.
Nice. So myself, mine's, I wish it wasn't, it's a little more vague in terms of the first one I played. I know the first one I was obsessed with, and common thread here, but I'd been aware of the series for a while because of, readings. So the one Nintendo console I never owned is the NES. It was still a little before my time, and honestly, most of the games there, I don't really feel the need to go back to, other than like some of the Mario and Mega Man stuff. And so I was aware of those two original NES games that kicked off the series. How they were a huge deal. They got merchandise, cartoon, and all. They were, and they made an impact and basically became a long running series since it later made the jump to both Super NES and Game Boy with Link to the Past and Link's Awakening. And I want to say that I played both of those in some form or another, and one of those was my first proper play of the Zelda series, and I definitely did enjoy them quite a bit. I never actually beat them, but I was like, this is a cool, mix of fantasy, adventure, role-playing elements, puzzle solving, fun characters and powers. It's cool. I like it. And then, I got the N64 at launch because Mario 64 was blowing my mind. Had fun with it for a while. Other stuff like, 97 was the year of Star Fox. Summer of 98 was Banjo-Kazooie. Oh, yeah, I'm guessing you're familiar with some of those.
Oh, yes. It's just bringing me back. I mean, I just turned 31 this year, and I'm just like, this stuff was almost 20 years ago.
Some of them are. Ocarina of Time is 20. Also, Banjo for Smash. I still want it.
Oh.
It'd be amazing. Yeah, okay, Chris will back me up on that. But anyway, Ocarina of Time was announced way in advance, like in 96 when the console was coming out. And if you look online, you can find earlier screenshots of like towns and enemies that looked a lot different from the final product we got. They spent a lot of time on it because I think they realized what an ambitious kind of game it was.
Oh, definitely.
And because even though I think a lot of people have pointed out, like mechanic wise and the way everything is, kind of set up in terms of how like the structure of the game, it's very similar to things of the past where, 3 temples and treasures to get you into the groove, then some new kinks thrown in for the remaining like 6 or so, and some returning powers, but also full 3D, some first-person stuff, a horse. Like, it wasn't just the same game, but you could see it as a spiritual successor in many ways. And it's funny, I often hear that those two are often the most argued for which is the best. And I'll be real, I can't take the nostalgic goggles off, Ocarina's there. But yeah, I got full into hype mode for that game once, 98 rolled around and it started to become clear, it's going to be a holiday title. And I subscribed to Nintendo Power at the time, and they pimped that game like crazy. And I think I saw commercials and some stuff too, and I was like, God damn it. So I was often able to get one game for Christmas if I, made it very clear, can you get me just this one for either Super NES or N64 at the time. And yep, Ocarina was that time. And yeah, that was, I'm never going to forget, you get that neat little intro scene with like the dream and Link in his place, and you go out and you see the full forest and just that big panning shot. And if you're a kid who played nowadays, you just shrug, but that was like, I think that was the first time I felt like 3D gaming was taking the next step from simpler stuff to like Mario 64. I was like,
it was just like, because like I had played Super Nintendo games, I've always played them, but just seeing that sharp jump from
the overhead stuff
to this immersive 3D world, like at that time, is just like it's so like it's so hard to describe now,
right? And it's hard to get anything like on that level again these days. Refinements are more subtle in games now.
It's like seeing like when they first announced Toy Story, 1995. Everyone's like, "Oh my fucking god, it's a 3D movie."
Yep.
And it's just seeing that in video games, and then even jumping from Ocarina of Time to Majora's Mask.
Yeah.
Oh, damn. I was in 8th grade. My brother got it for his birthday. And I remember we could not figure out what to do, but we were just so excited.
Of course.
To play Zelda. And so we always kept dying after the first day.
Because so were you stuck as Deku Link?
Yes. So then one of his friends from our school let him borrow the guide, and then we figured it out. And
strategy guide, that's a dead thing now.
Yeah, we played. Like, if he was playing it, I was watching it. If I was playing it, he was watching. Like, it's just, we're like, oh my god. They're like, oh, like, it's like you're going to the town. It's just like, I mean, oh my god, I'm sorry. I'm like scatterbrained.
It's okay. I feel we have more. Hey, can I ask you a favor? Can you give me 15 seconds? I get some more water. It's very hot. I'm recording.
No problem.
But I'll be quick.
Hello. Hi.
Okay, I also wanted to be careful about how I did it, because I know you're a pet owner. I have my parrot over at my place, and I usually have him sleep in the kitchen. The way my apartment's set up, it's that or the bedroom where he would wake up screaming every morning because he's a little bastard, and I don't want to bother. There was one time where I bumped into the cage, opened the fridge, I heard him fall on the floor of the cage because he woke. Oh, no. He was fine. He was just like, I'm like, hey, don't piss me off. Anyway, also he has his own Instagram now at Squawks the Parrot, named after the Donkey Kong parrot.
Oh yes, I love bird Instagrams.
Oh, give him a follow. I'll send it to link to you or something. Anyway, we're not talking about Squawks. The Zelda series, and I know we're going to gush more about Ocarina of Time, but there's a lot of other interesting stuff to discuss. So first off, did you ever play the original NES games that it started with?
No. So we actually, oops, I spelled parrot. I spelled pirate instead of parrot.
Squawks the Pirate.
Yes. So like the first time I've actually played
the NES games?
The NES game is when So this is another thing of me and my brother. So we had just gotten a GameCube, and we got the Legend of Zelda Collector's Edition.
Yes,
disc.
That was my first time too.
Yeah. Okay. So so on there, we're like, okay, there's the original. We're like, we're gonna play the original, and then there was Link 2, like,
and both the N64 games.
Yes, and then the 2 N64 games, and then that 20-minute demo of Wind Waker. When I tell you the hype was real, the hype was real. Like, we played that demo over and over again because we were just so excited. Like, we loved our GameCube. We're like,
me too.
Zelda game.
I miss when demos were a big deal.
God, right? But just the fact that it was the first 20 minutes of the game.
Oh, like on the home island?
Yes, just that was so unheard of at the time.
Right, something that large, especially from Nintendo.
And it's like you get all these games and the demo, and it was just like oh yeah, I love Zelda so much.
And just a side note, I remember one thing I always remember about GameCube demo disc is that there was one that was just the first level of Sonic Heroes, which convinced me, oh, that's going to be a game. Then I bought it. Whoops. That game has its fans, though. Not going to slam it too hard. But yeah, though I'm guessing that you gave that demo a lot more playtime than the NES games.
Oh, kinda ish.
I'm going to put my card to the table for that right now. I'm not big on those. Same with like the original Metroid. I will definitely give so much credit to those games. They were probably very, very amazing for the time and ambitious, and they laid the groundwork for a lot of great stuff afterward. But it's just, especially when you look at where those series went in the 16-bit era, it's kind of hard to go back.
Oh yeah,
like Link to the Past and Super Metroid are those first games on steroids. The funny thing is, because I mentioned Shigeru Miyamoto earlier, and clearly you know who he is. So do you know where his original idea for Zelda, what the inspiration was for the NES one?
Yeah, he was exploring a cave in his younger days, and that's just amazing.
As a kid, he was in I guess he lived in rural Japan. Same thing happened. Pikmin was inspired by the fact that he gardens.
Oh, that's so cute! I didn't know that.
That's why he gave him the little idea of little bug things and all this nature. And it's not him. Do you know how Pokemon was created? How the creator of that got the idea?
No, I do not.
He saw the Game Boy Game Link cable, because that's what you needed for multiplayer back then. For some reason, he envisioned a bug crawling across it to move from one system to another, and, things escalate from there. It's funny how those happen.
That's funny.
Yep, but moving back to Zelda. Yeah, so I don't think I'm guessing we're not going to have too much to say about those NES games. I do understand that the second one was divisive even back then, because that's the only one that's primarily a side-scroller.
It's a side-scroller.
It's an RPG.
RPG.
It's hard as balls.
It's what?
It's hard as balls.
Yes. Oh, yes. It's
NES games in general were. So I touched them very briefly in those, and then I was like, I'm fine with leaving these in history. If you love them, that's great. They are not my thing. Look at the past onward. I think that's when you're in for a good time.
Yes.
And I guess we can jump around a bit if you want. Because do you know if there are any of the primary Zelda games that you haven't played?
I tried playing Skyward Sword, but them controls are not the best.
That is my least favorite 3D Zelda by a mile. But go ahead.
I really hope they re-release it for the Switch
with normal controls.
With normal controls, because that game is so beautiful.
It is beautiful, especially. I think one thing I like about it was I think people are really divided on whether they preferred the style of Wind Waker or Twilight Princess, which are the polar opposite of each other. And this kind of melded them. The actual characters looked like out of Twilight Princess, but the coloring and kind of semi-cel shading style was all Wind Waker. And I actually liked that. And they basically kept on with that for Breath of the Wild.
Yes. Breath of the Wild.
We'll get there. Don't worry. But yeah, Skyward Sword, I'd be willing to give it a second chance if it got released in HD with normal controls. But I remember not feeling the rest of the game in general too, how it was structured and paced. I only got like a quarter of the way through, and then I was just like, this it isn't my thing. And a lot of people do love that game, but I feel like that it's gone on to be pretty divisive.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's just the 1-to-1, because that's when
Motion Plus.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh, this is not.
It really slowed down combat too, because you had to wait for like a position to parry or attack. And I'm like, that's not how Zelda combat should work. Like, I thought Wind Waker and Twilight Princess evolved the basic stuff from Ocarina in really cool ways, like timing like your rolls and going around a guy, shielding. Like, Ocarina's combat is very basic now in comparison, but it was the first time in 3D, so you got to cut him some slack. And have you played a lot of the handheld ones as well? Because there is some good stuff there.
I downloaded a few of them on my 3DS.
Yeah, Virtual Console.
I just can't get into them because, like, it is because of, like, it's just so... Simple. So I'm not talking about, not simple, but, like, there's really not a lot of direction. So, that like, too, one of them, I'm, like, so lost. I'm like, I give up. Like, I don't know what the fuck to do.
Then never play the first one, because there was literally no direction. It's just mess around until you find the dungeons. Just do whatever.
But I did play what's the one on the 3DS?
Link Between Worlds.
Fantastic.
Yeah, very good.
And I am so excited for Link's Awakening. That's the one I was trying to play.
Oh, the remake that just got announced for Switch, yeah.
Yeah, I have the original. I have it on the Virtual Console. I'm like, I'm so long. I don't know what to do. So
yeah, hopefully they make navigation a bit easier in the remake. It's still not clear how much, if any, they'll change outside the graphics. Which I'll throw my head in, because it's another time. This is another thing where, like, a new art style for the series. I still get used to the character designs, but I love the environmental look, like the kind of bloom and texture they have there. People have been saying it's very stop motion like. I love how just lush everything looks. But I will also freely admit, because I was a dumb teenager, do you remember the uproar when they first unveiled Wind Waker and how it was going to look?
Yes, I was like, everyone's like, this is ugly, and I'm just like, y'all stupid. Like, this game looks phenomenal.
I was one of those stupid guys, because I was hoping for something a little edgier, because don't forget, this is the time I was into anime, and like, ooh, T-rated games, I'm in high school. And to be fair, I think that looking at the original announced trailer and compared to the final game, they improved a lot of stuff. I remember Link had like some different facial stuff. He had more of a blank expression and less defined eyebrows. And that was something Miyamoto was admitting at the time, was like, we're still tweaking things to make it look more appealing and expressive. That is, Wind Waker Link is one of the more expressive Links.
Oh, yeah. It's just his eye. It's his eyes.
He actually does full-on facial expressions. Like, I love... There's a clip that went viral of, like, when he's in a barrel, it's about to launch, they're counting down.
Yes,
he's, like, gritting his teeth, like, oh, God. Because, Link is famous/infamous. Like, let's face it, that dude's never going to talk.
Oh, yeah.
We have voice acting now in Breath of the Wild, but, like, Link his vocabulary is always just going to be yells and grunts. That's it. And it has become somewhat endearing. I noticed I saw a comic somebody did of... have you played Fire Emblem?
The first Fire Emblem I played was Fate. No, Fate.
Okay, that counts. 3DS.
Awakening.
Okay, so you know about like the support system. It was showing what support with Link would be like, and it's just him, the text box, just I remember a great Nintendo fan comic called Brawl in the Family. It's ended since, but you can still look at it. That was tradition too. Link never talked outside of the L's. They didn't want to break game tradition there. Other than there was yeah,
I do love Awkward Zombie's take on Link. She's so good.
Oh, I know Awkward Zombie, but I don't know if I've seen her Zelda comics.
Like her entire characterizations of like anything to do with Smash is so funny.
When Ridley was announced, I sent my brother that older one. Ridley killed my parents one time. And he's like wearing it's Ridley for a job interview, and he's just got a tie over his like grotesque body. Side note, I got I recently got back into buying more Amiibo because Smash ones are announced. I got K. Rool and Ridley, and named Ridley Hideous after my grandmother's nickname for him, Hideous Henry. Did you ever see that one? The one I did showing her, having her name the characters?
No, I have not.
I'll send it to you later, but it was a thing, like a trend I noticed on YouTube, and I was like, let's show this 90-year-old lady who's never played a game. Like, she knew later on who Mario, Pikachu, and Pac-Man was, but not by their design. She saw Mario, was like, oh, that's Jimmy. And okay, let's make it more relevant. I'll just say the Zelda ones. Primary Link, like the Breath of the Wild version, she called Strong. Zelda, she called Rapunzel. Sheik was Sneaky Queen. Toon Link was Angry Dude. Young Link was good. Irish Fairy. And my favorite, Ganondorf, was Satan.
I like the Irish Fairy.
That's because she was green. I gave her a hint, like, yeah, he lives with fairies in the forest. Okay, Irish Fairy. So getting back to, and I was initially very, very upset about the Wind Waker style, but once they started, because there was also, I remember there was a bit of a break after that trailer before they started showing more and telling you more, and the more I saw and learned, the more I was like, okay, I'm back on board, this sounds cool, and yeah, that is I think a lot of people consider that one of the best, if not main, than 3D Zeldas. Very solid, very cool, especially with the ocean angle to it, and the King Red Alliance is one of my favorite sidekicks.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and a nice twist with him at the end. Won't spoil it, but like Zelda has enough plot for you to get invested with its characters, but how much there is can vary. That actually is my one big complaint with Breath of the Wild, was they really scaled back in terms of how much story there was. Which is a shame considering they had voice acting and some cool characters. Like everybody online latched on to that sexy shark man.
Oh, he's a very sexy shark man.
He is. Even Chris was talking about how he and his wife were both crushed on this fish dude.
The fish dude is great. That is like, it's so. This is my thing about the story of Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Hyrule literally got destroyed. Like,
it's post-apocalyptic Hyrule.
Yes, it's post-apocalyptic. So when you think about that, everything is basically starting over.
Yeah.
Like, they were almost completely wiped out. Like, this is a story of people rebuilding
civilization,
their country. Yeah. There's not gonna be a lot there, especially in a setting that is like this Renaissance era where there's not the technology like we have, like, say, like the Fallout stories.
Right. Though it does have the most advanced technology for Zelda with the Guardians and the Slate.
Yes.
They tease that in Skyward Sword 2. They're basically robots you meet. There is some amount of crazy technology in Hyrule, but it's not dominant.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, go look that up in Skyward Sword, yeah.
So to me, this lack of, like, world building or, like, story.
What story there was more about character dynamics.
Yes, and I feel that's great. Like, this is one of my favorite versions of Zelda.
Oh, the character?
Yes, of her character.
Yeah, she had an arc.
She had an arc, but and this was, and what I didn't like were, like, so many people were like, well, she's just another damsel in distress, like, she's just shown as weak and all this, and it's just like, she's literally like 16 years old and having a midlife crisis.
Well, that, not only that, but you realize she's been basically in this kind of suspended battle with Ganon for a century. Like, she's the reason he's the reason he hasn't spread across the world.
She hasn't spread across the world. She literally lost her friend. All her friends are dead.
Yeah.
Because she blames herself for their death.
Yeah, that sad scene in the trailers with her breaking down.
When she's crying.
I'm not going to lie, the funny thing, that's what convinced my brother not just to get a game, but to get the Switch, that trailer. That's an amazing, that launch trailer, when they confirmed it, released it, one of the best gaming trailers I've ever seen.
Yes, and it's just like, this, she's not, like, I love Zelda, like, she's been in other games, but, like, right at this one, She is in the forefront. She is guiding Link. And like I said, she's a character with so much heavy emotion. Like, you're literally putting the weight of the world on a 16-year-old girl who's not only, she's a princess. So she has to think about how her lack of power is going to affect the citizens of Hyrule.
Yeah.
And it devastates the country. And now she's stuck in this 100-year-old battle. She almost caught, like, all the 4 guardians, they're dead.
Yep.
Link almost died because of her.
He's vanished for all they know.
Yeah. And it's just like, she's got so much on her mind. So it's just like seeing those bits and pieces of that. It was so great to see, like, they gave her, like, the real emotions of a 16-year-old girl princess about this.
I will say 2 quick things about her. And like, one, it's a more subtle thing in some of the memories. I like that she was more almost of a scientist, like, before all this shit went down. They're like stuff about her, you know, trying to collect plants and research all these properties. It's not just that she's regal or a warrior. It's like, no, she wants to be smart. Also, kind of a good choice to make Link amnesiac because it makes him still being mute a little easier to deal with. It's like, what's he going to add to this lore when he's still along with us?
I know when you find her diary in the tower, she talks about, like, him talking, but he says, like, I guess he's like, well, there's a lot going on with me and, like, the duties I have, so I just keep everything inside and I don't speak because I need to focus. And
there's an in-character explanation for it. Wow.
And I guess there is an actual term for it too, like an actual, like, thing, and everyone's like, please let these children rest.
I know that in games that's called silent protagonist. And I know that, at least in the case of Link and a lot of others, it's because they kind of want to less give Link one defined personality and more let the player project their own emotions and thoughts on him.
Yes.
I prefer giving me a defined protagonist, but, you know, Link's iconic enough, and he's that rare case where that's kind of become part of what's defined about and iconic about him. So we just talked about the jokes and stuff. We can come back to to Breath of the Wild a bit. Actually, let's talk about Twilight Princess, because I think you were saying on Twitter that's one of your favorites too.
Or
was it least favorite? I wasn't sure.
No, it's not my least favorite. It's so Twilight Link and Twilight Zelda are some of my favorite designs for Link and Zelda.
Oh, they stuck around for 2 Smash games.
Yeah, I love that Link actually has the chainmail.
Yeah, they're more detailed and kind of dark versions of the Ocarina ones.
Love Zelda with brown hair.
Yeah. I'm all for them mixing up her hair color sometimes.
I did not like Midna, and I think that's where my dislike comes from, I guess you could say.
Ooh,
but
we gotta part ways then, because I do like her.
I don't know. I never liked
the fact that the internet has the hots for her, not so much. I'm like, that's a little goblin people. Get over it.
Yeah, but it's just like I really have to go back because I only there's other Zelda games where I play multiple times. I can say I've literally only played Twilight Princess once. I
think that and Wind Waker I would say that for, yeah. And full disclosure, I still haven't beaten Breath of the Wild, but I am okay with us talking spoilers for that. Don't worry. Ocarina of Time, that's the one that got all my... Do you want to go back to Ocarina a bit?
Oh, of course.
Okay, yeah, let's... I feel like this is... I don't know what I would say is the best Zelda from a critical gameplay perspective, but the one, I don't think there's ever going to be another one that impacts me as much as Ocarina. That game was my life for a year.
Yeah, I've played it so many times. I have it on N64. I bought it. I had the
3DS version?
GameCube.
Oh, GameCube.
Yeah. So I bought the 3DS, the black one.
Yeah.
I had that. That was mine because I'm like, I need Ocarina of Time.
The 3D one, yeah.
3D.
Very good port. Not just that it's portable and faithful, but they also improve some of the the character models and stuff.
Oh yes,
it's not a full on remake, but it looks nice.
They need to bring that shit to the Switch.
That would be a good thing to do. That the Majora's 3D.
They would drown in money.
Yeah,
because the 3DS is basically dead. Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah,
but like I said, that's one of the very first 3D games a lot of us experienced.
Yeah, it was very early on.
Just like you said, that wide shot. Oh no! The opening where it just shows up, and then you hear that da-da, da-da, and then it's just so slight, and then you see, and then you hear the galloping of the horse.
The nightmare.
No. And when the game opens, on the
the title, with him just riding Epona, a peaceful, that's beautiful.
And it's adult Link.
Yes.
And you're like, oh, is that Link? And then you start out, and it's like, oh, you're a little kid.
Yeah. I mean, did you not know about the time travel stuff when you played it?
Yes and no.
Please elaborate.
So when I originally saw Ocarina of Time at my friend Amanda's house, her brother showed me basically end game stuff.
Oh, okay.
He's like, oh my God, I know I showed you Link to the Past, but I just gotta show you Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
And that's when he showed me Adult Link. So I was always under the impression you were an adult.
Yes.
And then we got, my brother got all his N64 games from his father, and we just played his file and your...
And that's what you're saying. You start up wait. So you knew at some point.
Yeah, so we start up, and you're a little kid. And we're like, okay, but then we're, just going through the temples and all that. Mm-hmm. But it's just, I've played this game so much. It's literally just muscle memory at this point.
I think I've read there are people who can play Zelda games blindfolded.
Oh yeah, it's I would not be surprised. I know they do a few at GDQ.
Yeah, there's some unorthodox playthroughs like that.
But it's just it's a game we've all played thousands and thousands of times. Even if you can, I was talking to somebody, and they're like, if they were to get up at 6 a.m. in the morning, they can finish that game in a day.
Oh, wow. You got to be an expert at it there.
But honestly, you probably could, just because you're not exploring for the first time. You just know what to do. So that was when Majora's Mask came out for the remake. They actually switched up a couple things, so it threw off my groove.
It's like the old man in Emperor's New Groove.
Yes, I was like, oh, okay, I'm Adult Link now. I'm going to go get the hotel key. Oh, no, the person is coming as a Goron in green. And I'm like, you motherfuckers.
You changed this up.
So I have to be the Goron to get the key. Great change. And it was a nice curveball, because I'm pretty sure they knew people just already went and got the key, because in the original game, she's like, oh, our guest is green, your name's Link. There's also, so in the original, how you get the stone mask is that the soldier is in Icana Valley. He's not at the pirate fortress, which is pain in the ass, because I hate the pirate fortress. I was like, oh, okay, so I'm gonna go get Stone Mask right away, and he's not there. I was like, what the fuck? He's always in this spot in the corner, and you're gonna put him in. I was so mad.
That's Nintendo trolling people. I will admit I didn't beat Majora's Mask, not because I didn't like it. I still rank Ocarina above it, but I had a great time with it. Especially, I love the different forms. Like, to make up for adult Link being gone, the idea, like, hey, those three main, races, now you can be Link for them, and they play very differently. And I thought that was a cool thing. Though I'll admit, I think Majora's Mask also has a reputation for being the creepiest Zelda. Exhibit A, that goddamn moon. What was up with that face?
I think it was basically just like an impending doom. Like,
like a lot of the characters realized the moon was going to crash in there, and that's a horrifying concept.
Yes.
And all these people's different reactions to it. I remember early on, you can see like the foreman in Clocktown, like it's all abandoned, and he just crossed his arms going, stupid moon, if you're going to crash, then just crash already. Like he was just facing it head on. And Link is saved every time, and then it turns into this Groundhog Day idea of repeating and changing the 3 days, but it's fucked up. I think that threw a lot of people for a curveball, both as a Zelda game and as an action RPG game. You didn't really see that. And I also just remember how scary the faces look when he would put the mask on and transform.
Oh, God. Oh, did you see the reasoning for that?
No, I've always wondered, like, why did they just stick that horrible face?
So, this, like, Link just needs a break. Because
Link sounds like he's in pain.
Yes, so basically, and this is even the more, like, fucked up layer, is that this is a literal child.
Yeah.
Like, he's 12. So basically, when he puts on those masks...
The main three masks,
The main three masks, he's absorbing all of their emotions, all of their pain.
That's right, because they're like incarnations of dead characters.
So when he's putting that mask and it's transforming and he's feeling all this intense regret and pain and death, and it's just like... Fuck.
He's like Mantis from Guardians of the Galaxy if she got all that stuff at once.
Yes. It's like, fuck, give this child a break, please.
Yeah, he saved the world once. Why does he gotta... Damn.
He's traumatized.
Oh, well, he's a hero. He's very stoic. I mean, maybe if he could talk by then, he would just be, like, a mess. I will also say the part I replayed about Ocarina the most, and part of it had to do with save files and how they were done at the time, that whole ending in the castle... Both that this goddamn gauntlet of a lot of the powerful enemies around you, and then like all the forms in different parts of that last Ganondorf-Ganon fight, so epic and intense.
What I loved is when you first, like me and my brother were first playing, is when you get to the final stairwell before Ganon, and you're just running up the circular stairs.
Oh, the organ music.
And the organ is playing, and you're just like, "This is it."
Yeah, it's a nice, quiet music to get you even more amped up, and it's even greater when you realize it was Ganondorf playing the whole time.
Oh yeah, he's just playing with Zelda in a crystal,
and he was he doesn't even he starts monologuing like he was expecting you to make it. He's like, here's how it lays down. Give this to me or die. Let's go.
And yeah, that fight. So you're done. Zelda is free.
Yeah. Ganon collapses, the tower starts falling apart, you run out, and...
Nope, there's Ganon. He becomes Ganon.
Yeah, and it's a freaky-looking Ganon, because that was a neat thing about Ocarina of Time that I was realizing, because I'd heard of Ganon in the old games, where he was just this generic blue pig. What's his deal? I don't know. And this is like, no, this is a prequel, and this is going to, this guy, Ganondorf, this is going to tell you how did he end up this thing. And basically the idea is that, he has the Triforce of Power, it resurrected him from near death and kind of warped his, greed. I think probably because he was so greedy, he became a monstrous pig, but it's a lot more intimidating Ganon. And I'm so happy that it's his final Smash now.
Yes.
I will say in Brawl and Smash 4, because I like his Twilight Princess design too. I didn't like the Ganon design as much because it's a more generic looking kind of boar.
Yeah.
And this, it's like no. Bipedal, lankier, these two tridents, the crazy red hair.
So
love that design. And that music, one of my favorite Final Boss tracks of all time.
That theme is so good. But there's also this...
It's less bombastic and more just really goddamn ominous and grim.
It is. And what I loved about it would get hit. You hear Zelda like, and And I was like, oh, it's just like, and when you hear that for the first time, I was just like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like she's reacting to that. But I just love the part where like your sword gets knocked out and you're like,
oh, you got to defend yourself for a while until she can give it back to you.
I just used the Megaton hammer.
Yep, got to bring that up. That was an optional. Oh no, not that's that. The Bigoron sword. You remember that?
I don't like the Bigoron sword, to be honest.
I didn't use it much, but for those who don't know what I'm talking about, there was a pretty lengthy side quest, which was kind of like a bunch of fetch quests stuff. You bring to the Bigoron, who was literally like a giant Goron, who would make you this much longer and more powerful sword. The downside being it was a two-hand sword, so you couldn't use the shield. And so when you lose your Master Sword, you can use your hammer because his tail's the weak point, but you can also use the Bigoron sword, which has a longer reach.
Which is great. And then I just love the final scene. So it is, and this is the thing I've noticed is that they've actually changed it. Because in the original, he coughs up blood.
Both that Ganondorf coughs up blood when he dies, and then there's that big point, the final, you stab him right in the forehead.
And it's just like
more blood.
Gushing blood. And then they changed it to green. I'm like,
yeah.
Why?
Pussies.
It was just like...
Okay, you do know about the audio change they made in the Fire Temple, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's a little more understandable.
Yeah.
Basically, let me just say real quick, for those who don't know, you can hear in the original version some kind of hymnal monks chanting. It was some Muslim chants like from sacred, prayers and songs. And Nintendo didn't do their research there, and Muslim community reached out and was like, "Hey, can you not do that?" And they took it out of future releases.
Yeah, but just seeing that final slash and just the red, was just so visceral. And then the final plunge is like, dang.
The actual ending very strong too. That's one of my favorite things that you can do where you get a little bit of closure for all the characters, like the sages overlooking the civilians being so happy and partying to finally be free. Link and Zelda getting that sad farewell, just very satisfying, very epic. It's kind of no wonder this game has such a big impact on so many people. I feel like back then it's like if you were a PS1 guy, Final Fantasy VII was your shining one, and if you were an N64 guy, it was most likely the Ocarina of Time.
Ocarina of Time, yeah.
I just wanted to know if there are any other games that we haven't mentioned at all. Like I'm looking at some of the handheld ones. Like do you play Minish Cap or Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks?
I've never played any of those.
Okay. I'll say real quick. I think Minish Cap is underrated. People don't talk about it much. It's a very decent little 2D game that's not just a Link to the Past ripoff because it does the whole shrinking concept. Phantom Hourglass, I have two problems with it. One, it's if I remember correctly, it's all touch controlled, so you have to drag Link around with a stylus like it's a phone game. And they do this horrible thing. It's the reason I never finished it. There's this one main temple. Every time you beat another temple, it unlocks an additional floor, and you have to do the previous ones before it to progress the story. And it's all stealth. It's all like these big statues lumbering around. If they catch you start all over. And I eventually just reached a point like, fuck this.
No.
Yeah, Spirit Tracks didn't do that, and actually, I thought the train mechanic was actually pretty well done, because it was doing the movement for you, and you would do fights. It was kind of like the ship battles in Wind Waker. You would use the stylus to aim and shoot, and also change tracks. And they actually do a cute thing, because I think a lot of people, including me, have complained that they wish Zelda could be more hands-on in some of the games, especially because of the joke, why is it named after her? In Spirit Tracks, one of the villains removes Zelda's spirit from her body, and she ventures with Link, and for certain parts, she can inhabit, she can possess a body of armor that uses a sidekick. That's actually what her new down B is from in Smash.
Yeah.
The Phantom Armor. And I'm just looking real quick. And we do both recommend Link Between Worlds. I wasn't as over the moon as other people were, but I think it's just because I prefer the 3D Zelda format. But some good evolutions and ideas. The whole wall mechanic, where you turn into a 2D drawing, is neat. The idea of, I forget his name, the bunny hat guy, where you can rent items before you unlock them in dungeons.
Oh, Ravio.
Yeah. That was, I think that was a big deal for a lot of people.
Really good. Yeah. No, yeah. I really like that mechanic.
Yeah, it's a good game. And I haven't touched, I feel like we're talking spin-offs. I haven't touched Triforce Heroes. I didn't hear good things. Yeah. Hyrule Warriors also, no.
Oh my, no.
Okay, go for it. You're the fan here.
I absolutely love Hyrule Warriors.
Do you like Dynasty Warriors?
Yes. So I do. Yes. So I love Dynasty Warriors. I played the hell out of 8. Mm-hmm. I think it was. So 8 was my first one. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I played all the One Piece ones because I love One Piece.
Oh, there are One Piece Warriors games?
Yes, there was the Pirate Warriors game.
Oh, wow. I didn't know those were... Okay. I am excited for that new open world one.
World Seeker?
People are saying it looks good.
It looks amazing. I'm still waiting for a One Piece fighting game that uses the Dragon Ball Z engine.
Oh, yeah. Those guys are making They're doing Kill la Kill right now, I think.
Yes.
Maybe after that, though.
If
I ever invite you back on, I should definitely be too, because I know in terms of anime, you're all about One Piece and you're all about JoJo's.
Yes.
I've watched the first.
I can talk for hours about One Piece.
Yeah, I've watched some of it, but I mean, when you think about how long it is, I got up to Sanji's introduction, which is like a drop in the bucket when you look at the series as a whole. But I did like what I saw, and I keep meaning to watch JoJo's. But getting back to Zelda, or Hyrule Warriors.
Just read One Piece.
Yes.
Do that. That's my one thing about One Piece. But no, it is such a great take on Zelda. It's such a great fan service game.
Yes, it sees it's a love letter for sure.
Oh, it's a love letter, and you're just you can sit there and just mindlessly attack enemies.
Yeah, there are 3 things I want to give it props for, which is one, bringing back a lot of series favorites all in one game, because the idea. Real quick, the idea is that usually you're playing as a different looking Zelda. Like, they've been reincarnated, and it spans centuries. Yeah. And Ganondorf is immortal, but that's about it. This is like, they do some dimensional time travel, like, hey, don't worry about it. I think they said it's not canon, so don't worry. So it's like, here's Darunia, here's Gira, like, here's all these people you would never see in the same game together. A lot of them in HD for the first time, and you can play as them.
It's just, like I said, it's a huge love letter, but it's just like, oh, you want to play as Zelda? Here you go. She is like the main person I use. Her design is also my second favorite.
One of my favorite Zelda designs. I'm not ashamed to admit that between Hyrule Warriors and Smash Ultimate, Zelda's a new waifu for me.
Yes, Zelda's design is that you get to play as Sheik.
Yeah.
You get to play as Impa.
Yes, and Impa's a cool character, too. She's always been a more minor one, but she's one of the more badass characters, especially in Hyrule Warriors.
Yes, and it's just, like, the love they put into this game is amazing. Yeah. But, when I can Switch, I'm buying the Definitive Edition.
Oh, yeah, because they added more stuff. I think, did they add Toon Link and Tetra and some stuff?
They added Tetra, they added Toon Link, they added the King of Red Lion.
Marin, Link's Awakening.
Marin. They added Linkle, who thinks she's Link. I don't know her story yet, but she's adorable.
I thought Linkle was. I guess she was DLC or something. That's right. She wasn't in the original.
She was in the 3DS version.
Yeah. Then 3 different versions of that game. That's nuts. But it hasn't. I think it's worth trying, just if you like, the idea of that sort of Zelda greatest hits fan service and playing as a lot of supporting characters. I just don't know if the Warriors playstyle is my thing. That said, I still want to try out Fire Emblem Warriors sometime.
My husband actually likes Fire Emblem Warriors better because you can actually switch between everyone on the field.
I would kind of hope there was more strategy in that one because of Fire Emblem's genre. It kind of feels better suited for that kind of game. And the idea that and also that's another thing of like cross-generation thing, because one of my favorite Fire Emblem characters is Lyn, and you would never see her with the Awakening cast and or others. Same with Marth, because he's like he's like OG Fire Emblem. Like, the idea is that Chrom and company are like his descendants, so you wouldn't be able to see him and otherwise. And Lyn is also Fire Emblem waifu. I think I've said too much tonight, but so yeah, we recommend you recommend Hyrule Warriors in general. I do recommend giving it a shot, especially for the fan service element, and just it is really cool. I was just really happy with the idea of playing as like Darunia and Midna and all these like characters you never get to play as in a normal game, or Impa, that too. And I'm just trying to see here. Oh, and real quick, I'll say, did you ever play Four Swords, like the GameCube one?
No, because I never had the 4
the adapters. Yeah,
Game Boy Advance you need.
Yeah, it was. I had 2 because me and my brother had GBAs. But 4 we did not have that kind of money. But that was actually, I remember it being better than we expected. We never beat it, but it was actually a kind of a cool take on it. It sounds like Triforce Heroes tried to do a similar thing, but didn't do it as well.
Yeah.
Like multiplayer Zelda does seem like a tricky thing to pull off, especially with modern mechanics. But if they try again, maybe they'll someday get it right. But for now, single player is better the way to go. I did want to say, we did talk a little bit about Breath of the Wild story, but how did you feel about it as a game?
I loved it because I really love Skyrim. So when you put Skyrim and Zelda together,
basically,
it is everything I love in a story. So I'm really excited for the next, because they can't go back.
No, they have said, they've confirmed, because, well, one, Breath of the Wild was huge success, critically and, financially for fans. They have said, for like main home console entries, this is going to be the new foundation.
And
they rented stuff like remakes, like Link's Awakening, maybe more spin-offs. They can do smaller scale stuff, but Zelda's open world now. We're talking big entries. And
I am ready to see where they can take it now, because there's now with it being open world and go ahead. Fight Ganon in your underwear. See what happens.
Yeah, that's a thing that they were saying from the beginning. If you want, you can go and take on the final boss and possibly win from the start. And I think some people have been able to do that.
Oh, of course. Of course they have. But it's just like that amount of freedom.
Right.
I'm just like, pour it on Nintendo. I can't wait.
I have 2 things I want to say there. I think that's both, the reason for what I talk about my biggest complaint with the story, and I think they basically justified it by saying if we had more story, we'd have to make things a little more focused, and we really want to encourage you explore, discover, just do what you want. The other thing that I find interesting, we got to give some credit to that first NES game, because they said that's what gave them the idea to make a Zelda that's just focused on exploring, just a lot more in depth and modern. And I will say right now, because I've seen people wondering about this for a while, and if it's ever going to happen, guys, Ocarina of Time remake with Breath of the Wild mechanics. Let's make it happen.
Ooh. I don't think that would work.
Why not?
I think because the story is so contained, because
I guess the time travel stuff would make it difficult too. You have to make 2 different maps.
You have to make 2 different maps, but it's just everything is you have to complete the Deku Tree first, because you can't leave.
Oh, that's right. That's another thing they boasted was no big tutorial. Pretty much, just go. Yeah.
So I mean, I would love to see it in that visual style.
I would like to see a remake, is what I'm saying. If Final Fantasy VII can get a remake that comes out 40 years from now, I don't know, then I feel like something like Ocarina is worthy of big budget, HD, fully voiced, maybe add some new mechanics. Just, we've been starting to see, we just got Resident Evil 2. I know you're a fan of that series, and I've heard good things about that remake.
I've heard great things.
Okay, you haven't tried it yet. Yeah, and that's apparently a case of they keep a lot of stuff, but they add and change stuff too, but people are saying it works. And I'm like, that's something that I think they could do with Ocarina of Time. And for now, I still say if you've never played it, the 3DS version is a good place to start.
Oh yeah, no, if you haven't played Ocarina of Time yet for some reason, the 3DS version is the definitive version.
Yeah, and granted, for people for younger gamers, I pretty much guarantee you're not going to get that same blown away experience we both did, because now games like that are a dime a dozen, but you'll still have a good time. That's still a really well put together experience. There's a reason. I think that it's both. If you look at Metacritic and stuff, it's the highest rated N64 game of all time, and I think it still might be the highest rated 3DS game of all time.
I wouldn't be surprised.
They did a pretty straight port 15 years later, and people were still gaga over it. That's hard to do. Mm-hmm. We're probably starting to draw some stuff to a close. I will say, what kind of stuff would you like to see in future Zeldas? Because we obviously talked about how you definitely more build on the Breath of the Wild foundation more. What is stuff that you would like to see them revisit or even try for the first time, if you have any ideas?
I mean, that's a very hard question.
Kind of put you on the spot there, yeah. Let's say if they did do some sort of follow-up to Breath of the Wild, or even Hyrule Warriors? Like, what's kind of stuff you'd like to see added or changed? Do you know? I'll say now, I think the idea of different forms would be cool to bring back. Like in Majora. Majora's probably the best example I can think of.
Mm-hmm.
I would also like them to have Zelda playable, but I think they've said, no, we're not doing that. Which,
I feel like if... that's...
I would also like them to do a concept... Oh, go ahead.
I would like to see them do a more Renaissance setting with Zelda.
Like tone down the fantasy and play up the grid or something?
No, I mean just like the aesthetics.
Twilight Princess got pretty close.
Yes, like expand that. That's the one thing I did love about Twilight Princess.
The look?
Is that not the look, but that Hyrule town center.
Yeah, that felt the most realistic of any Hyrule town in the series.
More of that. Like more...
Grit?
Not grit.
Detail.
I don't...
Density.
Detail, yes. More detail. Because I feel like if they continue with... Because I don't know if they're going to continue the story with Breath of the Wild.
No, just the format of the gameplay is what they're sticking with.
Yeah. So, like, the next step would be, like, civilization is rebuilt.
Yeah.
So I would like to see... just make Zelda Skyrim.
First person, Bethesda, bunch of glitches. Talking dragons.
Talking dragons.
I told people this. Do you know who the voice of the main dragon is? Like that old one you find on a mountain?
Parthenax? Who is that?
Yes, do you know who his voice actor is?
No, I do not.
Charles Martinet, Mario.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. Also, he's Luigi, Wario, and Waluigi. He's a natural actor. Look him up.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I now need the Skyrim mod of it just being...
I'll bet it exists. I'll bet there's one where they dub over all his dialogue with Mario quotes.
Oh my God.
I met that guy on Awesome.com a couple years ago, by the way. Nice, really nice guy.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and he's very enthusiastic about... he actually hadn't heard of Mario before he got the role. But now he actually does play some... I think he said Mario Maker's his favorite game now.
Oh, see, that's what I want. Like a Zelda
Maker?
Odyssey game.
Oh, a Zelda Odyssey? What?
Like, so you know Super Mario Odyssey, where they were just these very, like, lush, lively, like, inhabited...
So more, like, individual, dense areas compared to the big open stuff. Yeah, that might change. That might be a big change pace.
I like like, Odyssey was big, but it was just, like, every world had its distinct personality. And like I said, like, you can very much tell that, like, there's just so much you can do with fantasy. And I just want to see more of, like you go into a town and it's just bustling with, like, people and, like...
Yeah. They did the best they could in Ocarina given the limitations, but they can do a lot more now.
They can do a lot more and just, like more...
you bring up a neat point, which is that I do think Nintendo's starting to embrace the idea of open world style games more. Like, Mario Odyssey isn't true open world, but it's the closest that series has gotten. Yes. And the Xenoblade series has been a big hit for them too, and that is open world RPG. And actually, a fun fact, that developer Monolith Soft helped with Breath of the Wild, because Nintendo's internal teams were that was kind of a new thing for them, open world. Mm-hmm. So it's an interesting thing to note, and I don't want the format shouldn't be 1-to-1 with Breath of the Wild for whatever comes next, because then it'll feel a little redundant, but they've given it was very refreshing for this series. I think Skyward Sword, besides being disappointing, was also the point where it was like, okay, I don't just want another game that's structured like Ocarina again. Surprise me. And I remember I was telling people there were two things I want for the next scale game. One, pull Skyrim, make it open world, and two, give us some goddamn voice acting. And they did both. Mm-hmm. So now I'm like my main complaint about Breath of the Wild is more story please, but other than that, a wonderful game and kind of unique even as open world. Like, even if you just take away the Zelda from it, there aren't really other open world games like that. Yeah, that really encourage on foot climbing, just the cooking, this all these interesting little.
I love the cooking mechanic.
Oh, I love the music. And Link is humming along like that. Get another little bit of character there. Also, did you ever try opening a treasure chest without clothes?
No, but I've seen the things, and it's like
he stubs his toe and hops around in pain. And other little touches like how he shivers if he's underdressed in cold weather. Like that's another maybe not so much in cutscenes, but when you play the game, that's a pretty emotive Link. Oh, and I also got to give credit. That was also kind of a big shift for maybe not Link and Zelda's designs, but definitely their wardrobe.
Oh yeah,
yeah. No more green and pink. It's blue now.
It's blue. It was a very, and then like the fact that like you said he wasn't in the green tunic. Like, you have to do all the shrines to get his green tunic.
Yeah, no hood either. By default, he didn't have a hat.
No, and it was very good. But like those designs were so great.
Yeah, and I was kind of bummed out that there was there's no sign of Breath of the Wild, Zelda, and Smash Ultimate. Even though, like I've said, that Ultimate design waifu prime, but they actually said it. Kind of from what we talked about, they were like the Zelda and Breath of the Wild was more studious and reserved by nature.
Yeah.
If we just put that design there, it really just would feel strange if you played that game.
Yeah. Which was great, and it makes sense. Like, it made sense.
Yeah, it was also a good excuse for them to say, like, let's do a new take on... I think they said it was kind of a mix of different designs for Ultimate, but mostly Link to the Past, if you look at artwork for that.
Yeah.
And last thing I want to say, do you have anything you want to say about, like, spin-off material? Like, have you read the manga? Because I know I wanted to mention that to you.
Yes, I have read the Ocarina manga.
It's good.
It is so good.
I've been, Go ahead.
There's no, like, it shouldn't be that good.
No.
But it's great.
Because I want to talk about the idea of, people are wondering, Nintendo's starting to open up the doors about, finally doing more adaptations for TV and movies. We're getting a Mario movie at some point. Detective Pikachu's coming out in a few months. There's probably more on the way in terms of TV and the like. And people are like, I will say briefly, I've never watched a full episode of that old Zelda cartoon, but it is dopey. Like,
oh yeah, the 1980s one.
Both that they had very little to go off with back then, and that they just didn't take it seriously at all. It was a romantic comedy with really silly and that dumb catchphrase, "Excuse me, princess." The only thing I would give it props to is that Zelda was as much of a strong character as Link, but yeah. And so I think one thing that people point out is it could be difficult if you were going to try to directly adapt any of the games. A lot of their structure would be difficult. Like, you can't make Ocarina a movie and go to this place and this place and this place. All right, now go get this, this, and this. And granted, the manga still sticks to that, but it fleshes out and even restructures a lot. Like, the idea of what's the Volvagia, that dragon boss?
Oh yes! Oh, that was heartbreaking.
Because they added a thing where, like, okay, when Link was a kid exploring the market, he bought a baby dragon in captivity and ended up letting it go, and then realizes later it was brainwashed by Ganon and tries real hard to snap out of it, but has to kill him.
Yeah,
that's great.
That was so hard.
And other stuff touching on, Link has an encounter with Zelda in the market before that whole meeting where she tries to sneak out and live normally, like a cute bonding moment.
Oh yes.
Man, I wish I had read it more recently, but it revamped some stuff and kept some stuff, and it none of it really felt wrong. And granted, like, a lot of the dialogue and stuff it's very anime. Like, there's stuff that is like battle cries and stuff that Link says, like, traditional over the top. But I'm like, if people were ever to say, hey, we're doing either like a single season anime or a movie of Ocarina, I'm like, you would still want to refocus the whole shrine dungeon visit stuff, but this would be a great starting point to look at in terms of fleshing out the characters.
Yeah.
And what's another thing? Oh, and again, when I saw how they made adult Zelda look in that, I was like, ooh. I think I've said too much about my history with the Princess Zelda character, but it's also they've done those. It's a duo of artists they've adapted most of the modern books. I mean, games. And I read some of the Ocarina one too, which is pretty cute, and their art style is wonderful.
Oh, I love their art style.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Cute characters are cute. The villains are menacing looking. Like, they do Ganondorf and company, like, a lot of good, like, stark shadows. Like, he's intimidating as fuck. And they even do a great thing where, like, it's showing, like, the actual invasion. And I remember, like, he corners Zelda and just goes, like, I put your father to sleep forever. Like, some twisted stuff like that. Because they never really say what happens to the king in that game. And I will touch on real quick, not because it's good, the Zelda CDI games.
Ugh.
I've never played them. I actually found out a couple years ago, one of my best friends, my second cousin, he said, yeah, I had a CDI growing up. I had those games. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And he even knew then, oh, this is not the Zelda I know and love. And I won't go into the full history of, like, how did that and Hotel Mario happen, but look it up. Basically, Nintendo made some mistakes when Sony offered to make the PlayStation as a Super NES CD, basically. And they said no and went with Philips instead. They regret that. And those games are horrible to play, but the cutscenes are very unintentionally entertaining. They're doing a reanime collab for those, which I've been following. Are you familiar with that, with those collabs, like that concept?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, I've been excited by some of the art I'm seeing for, like, the Zelda designs and the like, and same thing with what I'm seeing with the Wario stuff, which is like people I'm seeing they either do like really impressive visuals, but they can also do very funny actions. Like somebody I gave a shot to for that's just a shot of, like, different types of food. He did pretty simple art style, but, like, every food item was a reference to a game or a cartoon. Like, he had a rice ball with Brock from Pokemon's face on it. He had Cookie Cat from Steven Universe. He had the Maxim tomato from Kirby. Like, a lot of fun stuff. But so yeah, seek out those cutscenes for a good laugh, but never pay money to play those games. They are not fun.
Right.
And would you be curious? Do you think, like, if they said they were going to try and do another Zelda adaptation, would you be hopeful about it? Like, do you think they could pull it off?
I'm sorry, say that again. You cut out.
If they did say they were going to, because I was talking about that manga gave me hope that you could mess around with these stories and make a good, standalone narrative. If they said they were going to do a new Zelda show or movie, would you be hopeful?
No.
Okay, why is that?
Because I don't think, unless it was an original story, I think it would be a very terrible idea to adapt a game into
a movie.
It's
hard. That's why the majority of we still haven't had a truly good game movie. That's part of it. Part of it was also that when they started in the early 90s, the games didn't rely on narratives as much. Like, Mario had very little story and stuff like Mortal Kombat and stuff. But
Mortal Kombat's a great movie. It's so cheap. It knows what it is.
It's a great B movie. I'm talking to, like, critically acclaimed. But it is. Yeah, I mean, yeah. If you're in that, it is that one. That's a pretty faithful movie too, because people complain about Mortal Kombat being violent, but it never took itself that seriously.
Oh no.
But yeah, no, it's still hard these days because games are formatted differently, even the more cinematic ones, and also it just seems like there's a lot of cases where the people who are making the movie don't know what they're doing, like those Resident Evil movies, terrible. And very detached. And now that director's doing Monster Hunter. I'm like, this is going to be a disaster.
We don't talk.
Yeah, no, especially if you're a hardcore game fan. Like, a lot of those characters done real disservices. The
only reason I am seeing Monster Hunter is solely because of Tony Jaa. And that's it.
Of who?
Because Tony Jaa, the martial artist.
Oh, is he in it?
He's the hunter.
Wait, is he the main character?
Yeah, he's basically... So basically...
I assume he was just going to cast Mila Jovovich again because it's his wife. I know she's in it.
No, so basically the story is this American SEALs team gets sucked into another dimension.
Damn it.
Yeah. And so they meet up with Tony Jaa's character, who's living in the Monster Hunter world. And his costume actually looks like a Monster Hunter costume.
Okay. What I'm saying, it kind of looks like he and Mila Jovovich will kind of both be the leads, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
She's the lead of the military, he's the main from this world.
Yeah. But, like...
Ron Perlman's going to be in it, too. I like him.
Yeah. I'm only going to see it for Tony Jaa, and that's...
Yeah. And you're not expecting a great movie, either.
No, I'm not.
I'm like, I think a Zelda TV series might be easier to do, because if they would try and adapt one of the games, they could space things out a little more. They would be able to reconfigure things, but keep a lot of the stuff that people would want to see. Because that manga is basically, it might as well be an anime adaptation. I could totally see them as like an OVA or something. But yeah, I think it's the fact that something else that would give me hope if they did it. It's kind of like we were talking about with Alita. Like, the series has been around long enough. It had enough of an influence on so many creators and people. There are probably a lot of people with clout in Hollywood who genuinely love that series.
Yeah.
So if you got someone like a Robert Rodriguez or James Cameron who was like, I love this series, please let us make this the way we want to. Because that's another thing that can sink a lot of promising movies, video game adaptation or otherwise, is studio meddling and or incompetent, like, detached directors. And I remember a crazy thing. There was a rumor going around that there was going to be a Netflix live-action Zelda show a couple years back. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
That was...
And then it was rumored
it was. I think it came out like there had been talks way before that, but they fell apart by the time the rumor was out. But I'm like, yeah, that's live-action TV show. I mean, I would rather any Zelda adaptation be live-action. It can be, like, detailed CG, but the world as a whole and the characters are stylized enough that'd be weird to... But who knows? And maybe someday we'll get a Metroid movie starring Brie Larson. I don't know. Did you see that post of hers?
No, I didn't.
Last Halloween, she dressed as Zero Suit Samus and on Instagram or whatever said, "Hey, Nintendo, if you ever want to make a Metroid movie, give me a call." Like,
I would rather have Gwendolyn Christie be Samus.
Oh, she's good too. Yeah. But I'll just say real quick, I think Metroid would be the hardest series to adapt because that's such a, by nature, solitary story.
Yes.
Minimalist. When they've had games where they add the other characters like other M, people don't like it. Like, that would be really hard to do. Really, really hard to both make a good movie and one that fans feel is faithful. But maybe some sort of shorts or something. Like, I don't know. I'd be open to seeing, like, I know what I will say, Fire Emblem is tailor-made for an anime series. I still can't believe they haven't done anything with it lately. And I think we should start winding this down. Though I will say, while we're just on this topic, are there any games that you would love to see adapted to movie or TV that haven't yet, or lately?
I mean, not really, because for me, I'm sorry.
We've been talking for 2 hours. It's okay to be tired.
I play video games because it's an interactive story. Taking
the interactivity out of a familiar thing like that was weird by nature, I guess. Yeah, that's understandable.
It's going to be weird. But yeah, there's not really one because, I mean, but there are things that surprise me, like the Castlevania series was absolutely amazing.
Awesome. If that was a movie, it would be the legit best. But that is the best game show, I'm willing to say.
That is a very good show.
And you don't have to be into Castlevania because it's like a loose retelling of an NES game anyway. It's just a great show.
It's a great show, and I can't wait to see what he does with Devil May Cry.
Yeah, because I know there was an anime, but people didn't like it. So
oh no,
it's
fresh take by the same people that do like the Marvel animes, which aren't very good.
No, but like a fresh take and hot off the heels of 5, which is the return to regular Devil May Cry we wanted. Hopefully,
oh yeah,
hopefully, yeah. They're like very famous series out there that I never think would like either because like there's so little story. It's very basic. Like Mega Man is a fun game with an appealing art style and cast, but that's just too simple. I just don't think you could do that very well. It also pains me to say it, especially since we already saw what happened when they tried. Donkey Kong, I love those characters in that world, but that show, Jesus Christ. Maybe a fun, family animated movie. Because that's not one that should take itself that seriously, but who knows. Mario's fun too, because we know that's happening, and they've even been saying they're aware, both because Illumination also doesn't have a great track record, but well, okay. One thing I'll say about that is Nintendo is still at this point very hands on with it. Miyamoto's a producer. They're even saying if they can't settle on a script that they don't like, they're just going to cancel the movie rather than make something shitty. And they were even saying the head of the studio was saying we know about that original movie and we kind of see that as adding to the challenge of something. He was actually saying this is a series with characters and a plot that were not intended with movies and that kind of storytelling in mind. So we're trying to figure out how do you translate that in a way that feels faithful but still works as a movie. And Honestly, I'm willing to give that a shot because it is possible for a studio that mainly makes mediocre or bad movies to do something great. Blue Sky, I don't like most of their movies, but Peanuts movie was wonderful. And most recently, Sony, hot off Emoji Movie, gave us Into the Spider-Verse, which won a superhero movie, won a Best Picture Oscar to some degree. So anything is possible. But going back to Zelda and finishing thoughts, I've come to terms that I'll never have an experience and investment like Ocarina of Time again with it, most likely. But I still get interested when they announce new, especially main home console entries. Breath of the Wild left me very hopeful for this series to continue to grow and manifest itself in new, surprising, and entertaining ways. And there's still a lot of good old entries to go back to. I think we both agree that the NES one's not the best. You're not big on the GB Game Boy ones. I'd say give those a shot if you can get over, find a guide or something, because they're pretty good with like the puzzles and powers. And obviously do not touch CDI, but maybe give Hyrule Warriors a try. Do you have any closing thoughts on the Zelda series?
It is, well, for me personally, is such a series of enjoyment and love. And like I said, I played with it with my brother. I mean, a little side story. When me and my brother finally got our GameCube, it was towards the end of its life. And
I'm sorry.
This is going to age me. There was a Funko Land by my house.
Oh, yeah.
And they had a copy of Wind Waker for $20. And me and my brother pooled our $10 allowance together to buy Wind Waker. And that
was a big get, I'll bet.
Yeah. So I just have so many just fond memories of the series. It's a great series. My engagements, my wedding ring and engagement set is a Zelda thing. My husband's marriage band.
Actually, Chris has, I think, some of his and Serena's wedding stuff is Pokemon themed.
Oh, that's so cute. Yeah, like our invitations were based on Zelda. Our cake topper is
I've seen a lot of cool video game themed weddings, and I mean, I'm not even dating right now, but if I ever do get married, I would love to, if she's up for that, doing something like that, because who knows if I'll marry a geek or not. Let me just clarify. I need to ask, when you were talking about, did you say the end of its life for the GameCube or the end of his life for your brother?
Oh, the GameCube's life. My brother.
That's why I said I'm sorry. I thought you were saying your brother passed away shortly after.
No, oh God, no. No, he's alive.
Okay.
No, it was the GameCube's life.
I didn't want to interrupt to clarify that in case I was interrupting a sad story.
No. But no, it's just such an iconic series, and
it's stuck around for a good reason.
Yeah, it's there's a reason why there's concerts of its music.
Oh, I went to one of those a couple of years ago at Wolf Trap. It was around the Ocarina of 3D time. Wonderful.
Oh yeah, I went for it too, and I was in awe.
Yeah, we didn't touch on any of the music. That's another thing, strong thing about Ocarina, one of the best soundtracks. And actually, another thing about Breath of the Wild, it doesn't have much music. That was a bit of a shame, but it was to be ambient.
Yeah, it was very but no, if you ever have a chance to go to a Symphony of the Goddess,
do it.
Go, it's great.
I like to do it with one of the Pokemon ones too.
Oh, I would love to go to one of those. It's great.
Yeah, or especially, I don't know if it'll happen anytime soon. They did one for Kingdom Hearts, and I love that soundtrack.
Oh yeah, I think those are starting out in Japan though, because of course it is.
Well, they did some in the U.S. in the lead up to like Kingdom Hearts 3 and stuff, but I don't know if they're doing ones again anytime soon. But I would love to. Side note: do you know what the composer for those games did before?
No.
Mario RPG.
Oh,
another terrific soundtrack, and they actually brought her back for the Mario and Luigi series.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, she's Yoko Shimomura. I also want to throw out another Nintendo name. Do you know who I might say it wrong? Eiji Aonuma is?
He's in the credits for a lot of Zelda
games.
He's
basically been the head guy for the series since Ocarina and the switch to 3D. I believe Miyamoto was still pretty hands-on for that in Majora, but after that, he kind of passed the reins to Aonuma. So stuff like Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, and especially Breath of the Wild, we hats off to that guy. I'm sure there's a lot of pressure every time he does one of those.
Yes.
and he has a very solid track record with them. And I mean, that's up to see. I mean, to see with all these games, like a big game like that is hard work for many people, and I can't imagine how much intensity they feel when it's like, yeah, you're on the new big Zelda. I mean, Breath of the Wild must have been crazy too, because they realized what a big departure they were taking. Mm-hmm. But hopefully, I'm sure they reached a point where they're like, no, wait, this is going to be great. At least I hope so. Yeah. So that's going to bring it close to this episode. Very nice, lengthy episode. Maybe I'll break it into because I know, Bianca, you said you haven't listened to it. Sometimes when we have really long ones, I break them into two halves. So maybe I'll save I'll give the Alita talk its own episode to get it out sooner, and then I'll let down the Zelda one. But again, I want to thank you for finally being able to make it on the show. This was a very fun conversation. Fresh off a nice trip to Epcot, from the sound of it.
Yes.
And again, where can people find you on Twitter and Instagram?
So my Twitter is Pyrastar, Pyrra star, STAR, and the same thing with my Instagram, Pyrastar. So
yeah, yep. Been following you there for a while. It's a mixture of selfies, talk about media and events and stuff. Like a nice, very well rounded. I would compare it to Chris's account. Only I don't think you draw. That was not an insult, by the way. So. Yeah, I have some possible ideas for guests for the. I think I'm going to aim. I won't say the guest just yet. It will be a first time guest from another podcast. But it looks very likely right now that episode, I want to say 34, 35. I can never remember. We're going to be talking Futurama. Hot off our Simpsons talk and talking about the other. I guess older Matt Groening show now, because now Disenchanted is going on, or Disenchantment, I can't remember. But I look forward to talking that with our first time guests. It's possible that might get rescheduled, and we'll have someone else first, kind of like what happened with this in the Kingdom Hearts episode. But look forward to that. You can follow me. I'm kind of spread thin on Twitter these days. Like I said, the show is at SketchWatchPlay and Facebook.com/SketchWatchPlay. My general account is Behonkiss, BEHONKISS. I'm using that a lot less now. I would say follow Behon Art, where I post a lot of drawings. I'm trying to do as much as I can. And also follow Wario Reanimated, because I'm posting people's shots from the Wario collab that I'm organizing, as well as stuff related to Wario Nintendo and stuff from other collabs, like because I know you like a lot of Disney stuff. They're doing a reanimated part of your world.
Oh, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I've already seen one line art there that's actually really, really beautifully done. And some of them are going to have jokes and stuff, but I think it's a neat thing, because, like, obviously we can't do the whole movie. I think it's neat to be, because a lot of it has been, like, from, like, kind of dopey stuff, like the Mario cartoons, or good TV stuff, like Dragon Ball. I think it's an idea to take, like, one scene. They're doing We Are Number One reanimated, for crying out loud. There you go. So, though R.I.P. to that actor, I do know he passed away. But yeah, follow those. Give Bianca a follow. She has some fun stuff to talk about. Give a listen to Generation Animation if you haven't already. You took a hiatus from it for the past couple of years, but you've been occasionally reappearing on it nowadays.
Yeah, it's just that I work in the beauty industry, so weekends off are very non-existent.
Yeah,
so
they record weekends.
I am back, but it's just like on shows I want to do, or if it's like certain special episodes we do. Yeah,
like I know if you've said as much, like, hey, if they ever do anything My Little Pony recommended, no.
Ugh.
Go listen to their episode, because like Brony's ruined that show for her.
Yes.
I should tell you real quick, when I worked in a movie theater last year, my coworker was a Brony. He wasn't creepy about it or anything, but the funny thing was, it was a theater where they would have you write your favorite movie on your name tag. And his favorite, he wrote Rainbow Rocks, the second Equestria Girls movie. And so I asked him, so what happens when what people ask about? He's like, most of them ask, what is that? And usually when I tell them, the reaction is just, okay, and they walk off. And I'm not trying to give him crap, because he wasn't some creepy, weird, stereotypical Brony. He didn't go around blabbing about it to anybody. He was pretty responsible about it. Hashtag not all Bronies.
Not all Bronies. I must say, though, Kotobukiya, they do a lot of figures. They actually just released My Little Pony Bishojo line.
What?
And the art is by Shunya Yamashita.
Who is that?
He does a lot of erotic art, but some of his art. No. These are the cutest designs I have ever seen for humanized ponies.
Okay.
And I want the entire collection.
Okay. Oh, I'm pulling them up. Okay, I'm pulling them up right now. There's like a big pinky one by one. That's not as horrifying as I expected.
No, it is. I'm like, I want all of these.
That goes against everything. Actually, well, I mean, you are an anime. You do like anime figurines.
Yes, but I will say I was very shocked at the quality. I was like, these are actually
kind of shocked too. Especially because isn't the show ending? Like they're going to reboot it next year or something?
I honestly, I don't know. I haven't.
I thought I read that, but I mean, I guess it's still doing well enough. Like I still see kids walking around with shirts and hats of it.
Oh yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, and I worked in the theater when the movie came out. I was expecting more weirdos, but it was mostly families.
Oh, that's good.
I don't want to be too harsh on bronies, though. Like I said, my coworker was actually pretty good about it. But yeah, that is on the topic of bronies. That is going to bring our Zelda and Alita episode to a close. Man, tangents, what a thing.
Yes.
So again, thank you to Bianca for showing up, for both the idea and taking time out from a busy day to do it. And thank you for her encouraging me to see Alita. I don't think I would have otherwise, and I enjoyed it. And we both, you recommend the manga other than the ending. I'm going to check it out. And we both recommend the movie. And what's a good Zelda quote to close things on? Sketch, watch, play. It's a secret to everyone. I wish it wasn't, though. Our listeners would be nice.
Man, I don't know any Zelda quotes, to be honest.
What's Tingle's catchphrase? We're not going to end this episode without mentioning Tingle.
Kula Limpa something.
For a second, I thought you were just gonna go fuck. And I'm like, yeah, that's a good Tingle catchphrase. Fuck.
There's something Kula Limpa, and that's all I know.
Good night.
画質の謎解きアクション戸惑うことなくのめり込もうもちろんスーパーファミコン
It's the Legend of Zelda and it's really rad. Those creatures from Ganon are pretty bad. Octoroks, Tektites, Levers too. But with your help, our hero pulls through. Yeah, go Link, yeah, get Zelda. Awesome. Intense.
The Nintendo Entertainment System. Your parents help you hook it up.